Solo, a Star Wars story, is directed by Ron Howard. Now, it was supposed to be directed by Phil Lord and Christopher Miller earlier. And this film tells the story of young Han Solo, played in this film by Alden Ehrenreich, who's trying to make his way in the galaxy. He wants to be the best pilot ever known, and he's trying to do his best to get to that spot. And when Woody Harrelson approaches him with a task, a way to get some job done in order to make a lot of money and to prove his worth, Han Solo joins and this crew comes together to pull off a heist. This is a film that a lot of people have been a little apprehensive about, a lot of people have been excited about, but in the end of the day, despite all the behind the scenes problems, which you probably know about because it's all over the place, it was talked about so much, this is a film that, well, still gonna get some excitement because it's a Star Wars movie. Now, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I have loved these movies ever since I was a kid. I love the franchise as a whole. And I think that it's constantly evolving in very different ways and very interesting ways. The Last Jedi, for instance, was a clear indication of that. It did some things that Star Wars fans were not expecting. Some people liked it, some people hated it. You've heard both sides of the argument, and maybe going into Solo, that might be something that comes on people's minds because Solo is a movie that's following The Last Jedi, and so people will constantly have opinions of, oh, what's Solo gonna be like? Well, there's a few things to say, but I'll start off with this. I don't think this is a bad movie. I don't think this is a great movie. I think Solo, a Star Wars story, is fine. That's honestly the best way I can compliment this movie without going into a crazy amount of detail, which I will, and I'll talk more about it. But really, this film felt just okay to me. It did what it had to do, and I guess that's fine to an extent, but you've kind of started to expect more out of Star Wars. What you want out of a Star Wars movie? What do you want when you leave that theater? Do you want to get excellent action sequences? Would you like some good performances? Some excellent state of the art special effects? A really great musical score? Some beautiful cinematography? Some great technical work? Would you like all of those things out of a great Star Wars movie? If you are one of those people, then this is your movie. If you want some really great fan service as well, you're going to get some good fan service in this movie. Some of it is subtle, some of it is very much in your face. But if you want something more deep, if you want something that's more interesting to you as a viewer, which makes you actually guess what things are going to be like and what you want out of it, then this might not be the film for you because while the film does a few things, many things actually, which are pretty good, it's also pretty hollow. There's not much to look into when it comes to Solo, a Star Wars story. Once you walk out of it, it just kind of feels pretty disposable. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad movie. Again, I don't want to say it's bad because it's not bad. But it feels like something that you can watch, and it's exactly what you expect out of a summer blockbuster, especially something like this. It's a fun movie. You'll have a great time watching it, and you'll probably go see it a few more times with some friends and family and have a great time eating some popcorn, having a drink, and watching awesome stuff happen on the screen. But at the end of the film, once you walk out of it, you're going to walk out wanting a bit more, and that's really my biggest issue with this film. There's just not that a lot of depth to it. You don't really get much out of this story because it's pretty by the numbers and it plays it very safe. There's also not much tension in the movie because you know certain things are gonna happen, but there's no point in those things happening because you know that Han Solo is gonna be fine. There's a few moments in the film where they try to be like, oh god, Han Solo might die, and you're like, we know he's not gonna die because of the fact that Han Solo is in the other movies. So we know that he's gonna be fine, and so is Chewbacca, and so is Lando. So that way, the film loses out on some of its more tense moments, which was a little disappointing to me. Also, the film doesn't feel completely necessary. Like, you could have not had the story happen, and it wouldn't have changed a thing about Han Solo and the way we perceive him as a character, which is something that I was a little disappointed with, because any movie that you make, whether it be a prequel or whether it be a spin-off film, whatever you end up making, you want to have something that you can look at and say, yeah, that's a film that does what I wanted it to do because it answers questions that I didn't think I wanted answered, and it makes me look at things a different way. Solo has a few things in it that when you watch future movies, you'll be like, oh, okay, that's a kind of clever Easter egg for that thing which we see in the original trilogy. But aside from that, you don't really get much more. You get a lot of what you expect, and because of that, it's kind of disappointing. You kind of want a better reason for a film to exist rather than there's 5 lines out of the entire 2 hour 15-minute runtime which will have an impact on things. They're trying to also set up a sequel with this movie, which maybe we'll get one. And no, we are sorry, maybe we'll get one. We are gonna get a sequel to this movie. But I feel like I'm being a bit too negative, talking only about the bad stuff in this movie. Let me talk more about the good stuff, because there are a lot of things. Alden Ehrenreich, for instance, I didn't think he was gonna be very good based on the marketing and the trailers and stuff. He's a lot better than I thought he was gonna be. He's pretty good here. He imitates Harrison Ford a bit much at points, which was a little strange, but then I don't blame him. He's taking on a character that has had one face for 41 years. Trying to fit into the shoes of that is always a daunting task, and he did the best he could with what he had. So I do give him praise for sticking to it as much as he could and trying to add in whatever he could. He added in a few other undertones, the best he could do at this point, which is fine. I don't blame him. And that would have applied for any other actor who was going to be filling in Harrison Ford's shoes. It's a daunting task. Donald Glover as Lando is probably the best part of the movie. He's really good. He gets Lando's mannerisms, way of talking, way of acting down to a T, and I really liked him a lot. Emilia Clarke as Kira was probably the most interesting character in many ways because she's the most mysterious one in my opinion. She's the one who has a connection with Han. That is what made it more fascinating to watch, and I wanted to see what could, become of it and what it will become in future movies. Like, I'm excited to see where that goes. Also, Chewbacca and Han, the dynamic between the two was handled very well. That's something you don't want to mess up considering what a great iconic friendship this is, and it was handled beautifully. The way they met, the way they interacted, it was all really, really great. The way that Han interacted with other characters as well, especially Woody Harrelson. Some of the things I really liked between the two of them, the way their friendship and the way their partnership was established throughout the film, and it led to some pretty cool moments. I'm not gonna lie, there was a lot of cool stuff like that. The film isn't totally predictable. When it has to showcase certain plot twists and certain things that you didn't expect, it does it quite beautifully. And I thought that when certain things, well, including one cameo, which I did not expect, when certain things like that happened, I was pretty excited. And those were easily the most surprising bits of the film for me. Otherwise, I did feel a lot of it was by the numbers. But I don't think that's always a bad thing. Sometimes you do want to make things which is more conventional, which doesn't break a lot of rules, break too many barriers. But in Star Wars, I like when risks are taken. Like, you've told a story multiple times. It's when the story evolves, when it decides to do things that are a bit new, even if it's a prequel, when it decides to do things which are a little more unique to the way we look at things. That's what makes it so exciting to watch these movies more and more and to look forward to them as they come out over the years. And while I did mention all these positives that I had with it, including a very good musical score by John Powell, which I thought was really magnificent, and the great special effects and action sequences that you're gonna get, aside from that, because the film lacks a lot in depth and because it doesn't really do a really good job of telling more about its characters and establishing them a lot more, the film kind of does feel a bit disposable and you walk out of it wanting a bit more. So this was kind of disappointing, but in a way, those were my expectations and it met exactly that. And I think that's what I'm really upset about, that I wanted it to exceed that. But in the end, I got exactly what I thought I was going to get, which was a film that I can just classify as okay. It's okay, and that way I guess Solo: A Star Wars Story is the best okay movie I've ever seen. But I still recommend seeing it. You'll still enjoy it, you'll still have some fun watching it, and I hope you get something good out of it, maybe more than I did. I'm gonna give Solo: A Star Wars Story a 7 out of 10. It's fine, it'll do what it needs to do, and I guess that's okay. Guys, thank you so much as always for watching. I don't know if there's much of a spoiler review to do either, because there's really not much to talk about. That'll be a very short video if I ever do end up doing it. I might just this weekend. You guys are the best, and as always, if you like this, please do subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the movies.